Well, it's my a privilege now to introduce you to Alaska's senior senator, Lisa Murkowski, a third-generation Alaskan who is every bit as committed to the responsible development of our land, to education, to science and research, and really fundamentally to the people of Alaska and to the opportunities for our state's future. Lisa is a tremendous fighter. You may know a little bit about her electoral history. I think it was 50 years had passed before a successful United States senator had won an election through a write-in campaign. And that takes a great deal of courage and a great deal of commitment and a great deal of hard work. And we appreciate every bit of that during that campaign, and we appreciate every bit of it every day in the United States Senate. With that, Senator Lisa Murkowski.
That's better, thank you. Where did Yvonne go?
Over here.
I am so honored to be part of your stories yet again. To follow you is more than a tough act to follow. And every time I have the opportunity to hear you speak from the heart as one who is one with our land, I'm reminded of the greatness of the people of Alaska. And I just thank you for your leadership, I thank you for your words, and I thank you for all that you are doing, not only within the university, but truly for all Alaskans and most specifically for our Native people. I am going to start my comments this evening, and I don't want to take too much of the evening, but I want to give you a little bit of story of my day. I'll go back a little bit, and I'll start with my week, because I had an opportunity this week to be back in Washington, D.C. at the same time that the Pope was visiting Washington, a historic opportunity where he came to the United States Congress and addressed us as elected leaders. But he gave a message that for some, they didn't like certain aspects of it, felt that he got a little too political. I didn't think he got too political at all. I thought what he did was he left us with a message about dialogue and how important dialogue is, and how important making sure that the issues that we may find difficult, those issues don't get resolved unless we have the opportunity to be open with one another, to hear one another's views, to hear the concerns expressed, to understand from the people who live and work and raise their families there. Some for millennia, some who have just come. And so the opportunity for you all to share in dialogue about the Arctic, about our energy future, and about how we fit into the bigger world, I think is important. I've had an opportunity the past 2 days to be part of the Arctic world in a way that is almost difficult to describe, but I will begin by telling you I woke up this morning in Svalbard, Norway. Had an opportunity to go to the seed bank, the global seed bank, where we house a collection of seeds from around the world. Everywhere from the United States to Syria to North Korea to points in between. And the purpose behind the seed bank is to ensure that the seeds that we have that are unique to a region will continue in the event of something. Who knows? We can't define it. But to be in a tunnel in Svalbard, Norway, looking at boxes of collections, and to end my day at the permafrost tunnel here in Fairbanks, Alaska. I've got 40,000-year-old dust on my shoes, and I'm happy for that because the experience and the education, again, that I have received, and that my colleagues from the Senate, I have Senator Rounds from the state of South Dakota, and Senator Barrasso from the state of Wyoming, not exactly Arctic states, but an opportunity for them to know and understand some of the issues, the challenges, concerns that we face in the Arctic. And it's not just about seeds, and it's not just about permafrost. We were in Iceland, where, as a nation, almost entirely independent of fossil fuels. They're still reliant, of course, for their transportation needs on fossil fuels. But as a nation that made a commitment to say, we're going to utilize our resources in a way that is sustainable and a way that is affordable. And as a country that appreciates what it means to afford to stay warm and to keep the lights on in an often dark place, we can relate to that. So whether it was Iceland's experience with energy or how in Svalbard we're using this incredible research, the gathering of these scientists from around the globe, and Gwen, I understand you're going to be doing a sabbatical in Svalbard. They're anxious to meet you. I've told them all about you, and it's all good. But to go, to then go from Svalbard and understanding how they are accessing their energy resources, to then move over to Greenland at Thule Air Force Base, and to understand that it was actually there at Thule that was the genesis for the thought behind our permafrost tunnel here in Fairbanks. There was a thread that was coming together. And then we land in Barrow before we came down. I told you it's been a full day. Land in Barrow and have an opportunity, again, to see an area where it was truly just a generation ago, where to meet their energy needs, the community of Barrow, you had people that were picking up driftwood and pieces of coal off the beach to stay warm. And where they are now as a community with the advent of natural gas coming to them. So when we think about the Arctic and energy and resilience and sustainability and how they all come together, there's so much that we can get excited about. Because here in the Arctic, we challenge ourselves every day to be innovative, to be that next step ahead in pushing our technologies. Because if we don't do so, it will always be cold, it will always be dark. And if we can't figure out how we can afford it, so that Evan's children can be raised wherever it is that he would like to call home, whether it's here in Fairbanks or out in Arctic Village. If we can't figure out how we solve our energy solutions, it's difficult to remain where we are. And that's really, when we're talking about sustainability, it's being able to raise your family in a place where you want to be. So how we take the ingenuity of so many aggressively smart people coming together with the collaboration and the sharing, whether it's here at the University of Alaska Fairbanks, working with the University of the Northern Institute there in Svalbard, or working with the researchers in Iceland, coming together, sharing our ideas. This is where we become strong. This is where we become resilient. This is where we truly are sustainable. And so we had an opportunity just less than a month ago now to have the President of the United States here in our state with an opportunity to perhaps shine a little bit of a spotlight on some of our issues, some of our concerns, some of the challenges, but some of the opportunities. And to hear him be able to call out what the Alexander Salmon, I'm drawing a blank. Idiagic, thank you. Thank you. To see what it is that a small community of 100 people can do with a river turbine and a few wind turbines, combined with a little bit of solar power. They're growing vegetables for their elders, for senior meals. They are powering their community in a way that's sustainable. And they are invigorating their young people to want to stay there. That's sustainability. And if we can make it happen in Igiagic, and we can look to the example of what they're doing in Kong, where again, with a few wind turbines, they're able to store some of the excess electricity, and they're putting it in their clay stoves, and they're using it to heat. So we are innovating, we are pioneering in a way that should make each and every one of us stand up straight and be proud for what we're doing. I've always known Alaska to be the last frontier, north to the future. But we continue to be pioneers in an area that is, without exception, the most exciting place to be. Because when we have affordable, accessible, clean, diverse, and secure supplies of energy, that's what makes us resilient. That's what makes us sustainable. So thank you for all that you will be doing in these next few days in this conference. Thank you for being the pioneers, not only for those of us in Alaska, not only for those of us in the Arctic, but truly across the globe. Thanks so much.
We have time for about 3 or 4 questions from the audience for the senator. Yeah. Melody, do you have a microphone out there? If anybody is interested in asking a question, please raise your hand, Melody. Right here.
Thank you. Senator Murkowski, Mark Lick, Administrator of the Hawaii State Energy Office. I had a chance to testify before your committee in July. You didn't mention one of the great acts of political courage in the Congress that you led, which was the Energy Policy Modernization Act. And it's one of the great kind of high spots of the present Congress and an opportunity to address our energy challenges. Could you give us a sense of the next steps with that? I know that there's a lot of optimism that it's the first omnibus energy bill that has a chance for passage in a very, very long time. And again, we thank you so much for your leadership on that.
Well, thank you, Mark. And this is not a plant of a question. I can guarantee. But I thank you for the question, because it does give me an opportunity to talk about what the Congress is doing. And I think it's important to recognize that what we have done in the Energy Committee, in addition to producing a bill that focuses on updating and modernizing our energy policy for the first time really since 2007, which is significant. When you think about everything else in the world around you since 2007, the fact that the energy sector has moved on, but what hasn't changed are our policies. We are well past time to modernize, to update, to really enhance. And we did it in a bipartisan way. I'm the chairman of the committee. I had some priorities that I certainly would have liked to have seen, but I also recognized that I didn't want to develop a bill that was going to go nowhere. I needed to develop a bill that we could get to the floor of the Senate and actually pass and hopefully work with the House and actually get a bill that is signed by the President. So we've got a bipartisan bill passed by a vote of 18-4 out of the committee, which in this day and age is pretty significant. So no, it doesn't have all of the pieces of a bill that I would like, but on the other hand, it doesn't have all of the pieces of a bill that Senator Cantwell, who is my ranking member, would like. So we work together in a collaborative way to build a measure that really does help to enhance and modernize our grid, to provide for a level of reliability that is desperately needed within our energy systems. For us, particularly here in the state, this is something that warms Gwen's heart. We focus on how we can enhance microgrid opportunities and systems, recognizing that in a state like Alaska, where we're not part of anybody else's grid, but if we can really focus on some of these microgrids, we can get somewhere. We have provisions in the bill that will help us in working with the state and the state's energy programs as well. So you ask about the political realities. We're going to be back in Washington, D.C. tomorrow evening. We're going to keep the government open, which is critically important. And once we do that, we will have a period of probably just no more than a month and a half of legislative work before the end of the calendar year. My hope is that we will be able to secure time on the floor to address the energy bill. It's a little bit politically charged back there right now. I think you may have read something about that. But I do think that we can come together as a nation, rural and urban, Republicans and Democrats, in acknowledging that our energy policies need to at least try to keep up with the advancements that we have seen. We've got a lot of work to do, and this is a good start for us.
Hello, Senator. Thank you for spending some time with us this evening. I'm Troy Buffard from UAF. I was wondering if you could tell us what are your hopes for the U.S. as the chair of the Arctic Council? What are your hopes for it to achieve during the 2 years while we're the chair?
Well, my hopes for the U.S. role as we have assumed the chairmanship and will have it through May of 2017 is that the world becomes aware of the role and the significance of the Arctic, and the United States pays attention. Now, you might think that that's odd to say that, but I will suggest to you that the eyes of the world have been turning north, have been looking to the Arctic for some time now, and we see that with a level of interest in researchers from around the globe. We see that in the level of interest of those who just want to engage in commerce, whether it be China, the fact that India has plans to build an icebreaker. I don't know if they will, but we know that they've got plans out there. They're a long way from the Arctic. Why would they want to invest that? Why do they have an interest? Because I think they see the enormous potential, this part of the globe that is changing. As we are seeing the sea ice recede, as we are seeing paths for maritime commerce, as we view some of the challenges from a research perspective, what we can learn from the Arctic. So we need the United States to be right there with the rest of the world in understanding and valuing why it's a big deal that we are an Arctic nation. So I want the United States to lead. I want us to kind of set the pace, if you will, when it comes to our Arctic opportunities. And the focus of the conference here, looking at energy in the Arctic is again an area that we should be leading on. And it shouldn't be limited then to application within the Arctic. Understanding how we can build small water systems that work in an Arctic environment, but then might be translated to an African nation where they're dealing with water issues as well. How we can lead as we share our technologies, how we can lead in understanding our changing environment. Because as I looked at that permafrost tunnel just an hour ago, and you look at ice lenses going back 10, 20, 30,000 years, and you're thinking, wow, how much has changed? How much has changed, and how little we still understand. So how we can lead in this sharing of information so that we understand not only the Arctic, but we understand our planet. And it's a big order, but why not? We went to the moon first, we can figure this out. Let's lead. We should be leading in the Arctic. And we have the opportunity as we hold the chair of the council for the next 2 years. So I'm going to be pushing a lot of people to pay attention to what's going on up north.
One more question?
Yeah, yes.
I didn't see. I heard somebody.
I'm here.
Oh, back there. Iceland, my friends in Iceland.
Senator, very pleased to be here. We met in Iceland a few years ago. I've been working in international relations in projects, including a permafrost project, where Fairbanks is a partner. The biggest issue is funding, and all you're saying is very, very important. But how can we, and how would you suggest that we can break down the barriers of the boundaries between the countries? Because funding from NSF has been mostly within the US. EU is stretching a little bit across, but we are facing problems in continuation. We have a permafrost project just finished. We have a database now that Vladimir Romanovsky here at the university has been steering. But we are now seeing, then what? So this is a problem, I think, in so much we're doing, that it sort of ends, and we don't see the continuation. So it's very important to listen to your remarks on that. Thanks.
Well, it's very difficult to get funding if it's not viewed as a priority. It's almost impossible to get funding if it's not viewed as a priority, whether it's what you are seeking to accomplish in Iceland or whether it is what we are working to advance here in the United States. So how do you make it a priority? How do we make sure that people understand the value of the science? And this is where we need not just the researchers, because if I can vent just a little bit, we had the International Polar Year just a handful of years ago, and I was so excited that we were going to have this great opportunity to showcase what was going on in the Arctic, and we were going to build this great momentum. And the scientists were just eager because they had so many fabulous projects. And you know what? We didn't know how to roll it out. We didn't know how to advertise it. We didn't know how to. Scientists are great people, and I really appreciate all of you. But you are not like advertisers or marketers. You do your job, and you just are focused on what it is that you need to do. So how we sell this is critically important, because if you can't sell it, it's tough to make it a priority. So, I mentioned that I'm traveling with some friends. It's no accident that they are not from the Arctic. We need to expose more to what it is that we have and how we do it and what the challenges are, so that they get it, so that they understand that there might be some value to an appropriation that would allow for a couple $1 million for the permafrost tunnel over here, or making sure that as we're dealing with very, very difficult budgetary concerns right now, that we don't shortchange NSF, that we understand and appreciate the value of that. One quick story. I have long been an advocate in the Senate, ever since I got there, to make sure that we have funding for the volcano monitoring program. I can tell you when I first included it as a budget priority of mine, I was mocked. Mocked! I'm like, what do you guys do? Sit around waiting for the volcano to blow? Ha ha ha. No, we don't. But it's actually really important that we understand. And you all in Iceland helped us out a little bit when your volcano blew and Europe was shut down. And everybody woke up to the fact that, oh my goodness, volcanoes are still erupting. And they have consequences. And I have now been inconvenienced. And who is monitoring this? And all of a sudden, I'm able to raise my hand and say, hey, you know that money we've been putting over there? It's kind of important, isn't it? And so you hate to have a natural disaster in order to precipitate a priority. We want to avoid that. But I think it's just a small example of how we all need to be working together to make sure that the value of the research is understood. That the more we know, the more we can be proactive, the more we all stand to gain. So know that I'm working with my friends in Iceland, and I'm so pleased that you're here as part of this conference. I think one of your ministers may even be back there. I can't see in the light, but had an opportunity to coming tomorrow. Will send my regards. I must excuse myself now, but I thank you for the opportunity to be with you. Thank you for your interest, and know that together we've got a wonderful story to tell, not only about our Arctic energy leadership here, but working with our friends around the Arctic on the globe. So thank you.